Hello, happy new year to you all. It is January and we are back here in the new year, a new fresh year for all of us, back to the feature updates here at Waybook. And it's good to see so many of you at this early part of the year, although we are 2 weeks in. I'm still riding high on New Year energy, so I hope you're with me on that. If you've not joined one of these sessions before, welcome. It's great to see you. It's great to meet you. My name's Mike. I'm one of the co-founders here at Waybook. And over this next half hour, we're going to be running through some of the fundamental changes that have been present in your Waybook account over the last couple of weeks, and also over the next few weeks as we continue into our January. I can see some very familiar names and faces, so if you are back here again, welcome back. It's great to see you. The way this goes is we like to keep this as interactive as possible, so please feel free to message in the chat, say hello. We've got the fantastic Sophia in the background. It's lovely if you could just say hello and perhaps where you're calling from, because I know we always have a pretty good spread of both the US and also the world in these sessions. As many of you know, I'm usually based in London, but if you've ever been to London or you know what London looks like in January, then you'll probably not be surprised to know that I'm actually in Cape Town at the moment. I've swapped the -4 degrees Celsius, which I know doesn't make much sense to anybody, for the mid-20s, the 30s here in South Africa. So hello, Erin, Minneapolis. Great to see you again. Kathy, hello, over there in Florida. We've got Sophia here in Oxford in the UK. Nadia Atlanta, Brittany in Maine in the US. We're very US heavy as always, which we absolutely love. So hello to all of you and thank you for joining. In today's session, we're going to be running through the fundamental updates that are in your Waybook accounts. Some of you, the eagle-eyed amongst you, will already know some of these changes are in. And every time we put a little update, a little morsel of benefit into your account, we like to look at the analytics to see people using it. So we know those people amongst you that are just always in your Waybook and hitting on those new buttons as they come. But if you've not yet seen what's in your account, the few things that we're going to be covering today are the optimized progress matrix. And I'd like to take a bit of time exploring actually why the progress matrix is there, what it's for, and actually how it's going to develop. We have optimized and increased the clarity of our PDF exports, which you may not have seen if you're not regularly exporting your documents to PDF. And we also have quite a few keyboard shortcuts which have gone across Waybook, which actually, unless you've been told or you natively use keyboard shortcuts elsewhere, you probably wouldn't know they're there, or unless your cat has walked across your keyboard when you're trying to do some serious Waybooking. We also have some optimizations to the activity sidebar. We know that many of you are really diving deeper into the collaboration of documents and version history and everything within Waybook. And we've got some amendments there, which I believe has come from some of you on the call. So thank you very much, and shout out to Aaron. I know you're one of those. And also we have our context, which is the latest and greatest addition to Waybook. We did speak about it a bit more last year. It was a month ago, but last year, and that is now available. It is open for testing. And we have quite a few Waybook teams utilizing context. I will reintroduce it to you, and if you wanted access, we can get that into your account within seconds after this call. So without further ado, let's jump into our first session, which is our updates to our progress matrix. Now, if you haven't come across progress matrix, then where have you been? But if you have, then you might have noticed a few of these updates moving forward. But what you'll see here is the reason why we have progress matrix is because we know that some people like to dive deeper into the analytics, into the reports, but sometimes it's quite nice to look at a holistic view of everybody and who has access to what, where they are, and being able to color code that in a way that basically enables us to get a broader sense of where the kind of patterns are within knowledge and understanding across the team. Now, this is done in a really useful way. It's based on the principle of a skills matrix. So if you did have content focused around skills, you can actually see where the skills and knowledge is across your business, and of course, identifying those gaps. So what we've got here is the progress matrix is against all of the content for all of our members. And what we've optimized with this recently is actually including other metrics within that, increasing the ability for you to export this as an Excel if you wanted, and also linking that to various different reports, which I'll show you in just a moment. Now, this is available in all accounts. It is in your accounts. It is accessible. And that is, of course, for people who have reports access. So that is anyone who is an admin or who is a manager level on your Waybook. So without further ado, let's just jump in and have a quick look at what I'm talking about there. So let me jump into here. Of course, we need to go into reports. When we're in reports, we can go into progress matrix with that big beta tag there. And this is essentially what our progress matrix look like. Now, what we've also realized that a lot of people are using this for is if you just wanted a holistic snapshot of your permissions and actually you wanted to see what perhaps a group has access to, let's go to the customer service group, it will show you the people within the group and it will also show you what access they do or don't have. So if we look at the sales handbook, we know that the people within this group actually don't really have access there. And, you know, there's a gap here. So we've got our customer support. And that would be a bit of a problem because these are essentially customer service groups not having access to the customer support. But what you can see here is who hasn't completed it. As it goes darker green, it means that people have completed more of it. And ultimately, this means that we can identify at a snapshot where those gaps are. Now, this is, of course, a demo account, so we don't have many people completing it out. Hopefully, this looks a little bit more green for you. And of course, that progress matrix only identifies the percentage where they're required to complete. If it says reference, it means that they don't have that they're not required to complete it, and it's just available for reference, and therefore it's not tracked from a completion perspective. Now, what you are now able to do is export all of this as an Excel, so you'll have a full dump of that, and it also means that you can then track that over time. But of course, if we're looking at somebody here, we say, okay, well, look, let's see what Abby's doing. We can jump into Abby, and then, of course, with the help of the other reports, we can go deeper. We can save reports. We can export those as CSV. And actually, if we notice that Abby's not really doing a very good job on his team and structure, then we can actually just reset that document, which will now send Abby a notification that says, hey, Abby, time for you to complete this doc. And then it will put it back in Abby's email summary as well. So that is a quick note on some of the optimizations from a progress matrix perspective, and also how that sits into the rest of your Waybook reports and also resetting of your progress. So let's now jump into number two. Number two is actually making a few tweaks and optimizations to the PDF exports. Now, unless you've done this a lot within your account, you might not even know that you can export PDF. What we've realized is that a lot of people are exporting their content as a PDF. Often we see people doing this where there is an offline need. So if you actually wanted still to have a paper binder of a PDF, or if you wanted to have a particular process, policy, or procedure in a physical location. We know there's some juice bars that have their menus or their recipes that are printed out and they laminate them so you don't get banana on your iPad when you're trying to see how many kiwis to put in your smoothie. But we also noticed that this becomes more difficult to do version history and version control with those external PDFs. Of course, once it's deleted, or once it's downloaded and printed, if you push a change on your Waybook, nothing happens to the PDF, which is not unfortunately something we can solve for. However, what the changes are that we've done is we've increased the node types. So our internal language of node is the different type of content, an image, a video, a text, a table, an attachment. We've increased the ability to export more node types. So now anything within your Waybook will be exported successfully. And now you have a full version control and version date and stamp against each PDF. And that also means that, sorry, in addition to that, we also have the print-ready PDFs, which have continued to be within your account. Now, the way you can access this is, again, available in all accounts, available now. You can get anybody who has edit access or above to that document can export it as a PDF. But also, if you wanted to enable your team, so your readers who can only access this from a read perspective, to be able to export it, you can actually toggle that on the settings, which I will just kind of show you a bit of a run through on that. So let's jump back into this account and let's go into this purpose and background document here. Now, if you want to be able to export it, I'm going to go into the edit mode and I can then click on here and export as a PDF. Now, as I export that as a PDF, what it will do is we'll just instantly create and download it. And if I click into this, or if I open this PDF once it's downloaded, what it will do is actually give us the full version. So the branded, the dated, the structured version, and you'll see here the addition of the version number, the date, and of course that is on all of your PDFs as well. Now this will give you a custom structure and a link back to where that content actually was. So if this is printed and you say, okay, look, we've either moved on version or this is now 2 months ago, you can reprint that if you want. Now, if you are printing it and you're thinking, Mike, can you just think about our toner, please? If we go into the settings and we go into the sharing and templates, instead of downloading there, which is another way of downloading your PDF, you can download for print. And what this will do is it will actually download the exact same PDF, but instead of pulling your brand color as a major color, it will pull it with a majority white. So every time you print a Waybook document, it doesn't mean that you have to go and change your ink cartridge or your toner. So this is very much in the reader mode. And if I go into this activity tab here, you'll see that as a reader, I'm not actually able to export it. However, if I go back into edit and back into the sharing settings, we have the option to enable readers to export the PDF. If we turn that on, and now again, I'm just going to go back into the reader mode. Now you'll notice that if I open up that information tab, I, as a reader, can export that document as a PDF. So by default, as with everything, it's kind of broken down or clamped down into your Waybook, but it also means that you can enable that additional sharing if you want. Now, I've given a few examples of where you might want to print a PDF, but also remember that if you are looking to share your content more broadly, you can, of course, enable your public sharing, and that can either be shared by a link or actually a QR code. And actually, even if you're not publicly sharing your documents, you can also generate QR codes from this share pane here. And this is either the full document or the current step. And we see this happening quite a lot in businesses where they want to place their knowledge around the physical location. So if you've got an equipment that you want the maintenance procedure on it, just print that PDF. Oh, sorry, print the QR code, and a user can scan that, and then either on the mobile app or the mobile web, they'll be able to get that full view on how to manage that SOP, policy, or the procedure. So that brings us to the end of number 2. Guys, if you do have any thoughts, if you got any questions, let me know. I do keep my eyes on the chat and also on the Q&A. So please do keep anything coming. Right, number 3 is keyboard shortcuts. So for those of you who like to be as efficient as we all strive to be, you might not be touching your mouse or your trackpad. You might just be entirely on your keyboard. And as you know, we've actually really optimized the search across Waybook. We're really seeing the number of searches on Waybook across all accounts just massively increase. So we wanted to give you a faster, easier way to navigate across your Waybook, and also make sure that if you wanted to stay on your keyboard, you can stay on your keyboard. Now, what we've done here is we've created both keyboard shortcuts for search and also keyboard shortcuts for quick access to the most common things that you're likely to do within your Waybook. And the way to access this is actually dependent on whether you're on a Mac or a PC. If you're on a Mac, you can just do Command F, which is obviously the most common way for you to search anyway. If you're on a PC, you do Control F. So again, you might be very familiar with doing this on documents. And you can also actually just do the slash icon. So the slash icon will bring up the search wherever you are. Now, if you are slashing in a text editor, of course, it's going to type a slash rather than search. And let me just give you a quick view of what that looks like. Okay, just bear with me. So let me roll back into this account. Now, so if I'm from anywhere, yes, I can click search here, or I can do Command F. sorry, Command F, and it will load the search, or I can do slash and it will load the search. But I may hear you cry, Mike, don't steal our native search away from you. Because if you're like me, in any web page, in any document, what I'm doing is I'm Command Fing to try and find a particular word or phrase. So if you Command F and you think, I don't want this, I want to look for a word in the document, just Command F again. And what that will do is will take you to that native search so you can then search for company or purpose or whatever that may be. Okay, so that kind of answers or kind of addresses that. The final thing, the other shortcut that's in there, which is almost like a little known secret within Waybook, is say you want to just create a new document or we want to add a member or whatever that may be. Any of the core functionality that you want to do across Waybook, instead of going through the settings and trying to find it, if you do a Command K, what that will do is it will actually load you up this quick access menu where you can basically say, right, I want to do a new document, and you can literally then just create a new document. Or we can Command K create a new category or subject or invite a new member. And from Command K, you can get to wherever you want. Now, this is in there, and there's actually lots of other things that you can do, but this is one of the features that exists within Waybook. And if you try and do something in there, then we'll get an alert and we'll make it possible. It's very similar to how I'm sure you use your reports for Search Insight. And if your teams are asking for content or searching for content that's not there, obviously you'll go in and you'll just add it into your playbook and keep on closing that knowledge gap. That's what we try and do with features like this. So we are alert and looking for what you are looking for. Erin, you've said the progress matrix. I want to make sure you understand correctly. Reset sends notifications again to remind them to complete required documentation. Yes, it does indeed. In fact, what that does is if you even if you don't go to the progress matrix, if you go to any report that looks at a member, so not actually looking at a a subject or a document, but if you look at a member and you see all of the documents they have access to, you can actually reset that progress. So what this will do is not only will it send that notification, it will actually reset that progress so the system then knows that they have that document to do again. So it won't actually bump it to the top. If there is a document with a sooner deadline, perhaps from flows, or there's something else in their summary, it will still tell them that they've got this, but it won't actually charge it to the top. It will still be relevant for what they need to. But you see here, Angela here is 50% the way through this doc. If we kind of just reset it, then that will reset that back to 0, and it will ultimately mean that she will then need to continue. It will also show if she has previously completed that, which is a great way of knowing that if it's been reset or she's reset it, so you know someone has seen it once and you can move forward. Okay, right. So that is our 3 of our 5 things that we're covering today. The penultimate thing to explore here is our sidebar activity sidebar optimizations. And actually, as I've clicked around in this, the eagle-eyed amongst you might have already noticed a quick change on how the sidebar activity has worked. But really, the reason why we looked at this is because when people were focusing on collaborating in the sidebar or pulling up settings, they noticed that they were losing some of the context. So say we're writing a comment on a document for a team member. If you open the sidebar, it would almost go over the document. So, we can't quite read what we're commenting on whilst we're writing the comment. That, my friends, is no longer a problem within your Waybook. The other reason is that we really want to maximize your screen size. So we know that people access Waybook on every size device, from a 50-inch TV in an office all the way down to your mobile phone. So we really are trying to maximize and improve the experience wherever you are. So what this does is if you now open up the sidebar, it will actually collapse the navigation on the left-hand side if the screen size requires it. And also it will keep the sidebar open whilst you're collaborating. And finally, it will also maintain the state of the sidebar, which I will come back to and explain that in when I'm showing my screen. However, this is also available in all accounts. It is available in the edit mode because obviously it's on that navigation sidebar. But let's have a little look at what I'm actually talking about. So if we jump in here, this is the navigation tree. You may also notice that you can kind of amend this. So we can open this up if you've got really long names that you're looking at. We can shrink this down if not. Now we also have added the option to expand and contract this second bar, which is obviously your document bar. The document bar is essentially, sorry, your steps. So actually, if you've got really long step titles, you can pull that out or not. But what I'm talking about here is this activity pane. So if we go into the edit mode, and let's say, oh, I'm not sure on this wording here, I'd really like Elle to be able to optimize that. When I open up this pane, instead of it covering over the content, it will just, that was a nice sound, wasn't it? It will just kind of like concertina back your document. So now we can jump back in here and we can say, okay, I know exactly what I'm looking for. We can do the work as well. So let's say, hi, Elle. And actually, I can even do some of this collaboration. So I'm really able to look at the comments, look at the understanding, do the work on the document, whereas before that was collapsing and pulling out and frustrating you all, I'm very sure. So what we can do here is we can either collapse that back, either with this button or with that button. And finally, you'll notice that it will maintain the state. So you're not losing any comments. If you're focusing on a step rather than the whole document, you're not flitting between that. Or of course, if you did still need to see the navigation, you can also pull the navigation back out. And this is where you start to see all of the Waybook glory on one screen. But of course, that is not by default because it's really focusing on what you need at the time you need it. So that hopefully gives you a bit of an understanding. Again, that is available in all accounts. You don't need to do anything. It's optimized. It is in, and also if your screen is large and you can manage having everything open, then of course nothing will collapse on your behalf. It will always show you everything that you can possibly see. Now, the final thing to re-share with you and also to kind of share a bit of an optimization is Waybook Context. So we shared this in as a teaser last month. And this really is a big part of the way forward with Waybook. There's a lot of stuff which is coming up on top of this. But really to continue to fulfill the vision of Waybook being where information becomes knowledge and knowledge is effortlessly shared, what we have seen is that sometimes it takes a while to get knowledge in there, or you have rough knowledge and rough information that you just want to kind of give out to the business in some format whilst you then continue to optimize and amend it. So what context actually is the ability for you to instantly add context to your Waybook rather than saying, okay, now I need to dedicate an hour to create a perfect SOP. Those context results are instantly available in both search and in ask, and you can also then intelligently convert context files into your knowledge. Now, this is available to all accounts, not in all accounts, because we're opening this up for beta testers now. So we have quite a few users who are using this successfully already. If you wanted access, let me show you what it is first. Just let us know. And as mentioned, within seconds after this call, you will be able to get access to that. So let me show you, I believe the same thing or the same run through I showed you before. So if we look at expenses, and I've tapped on this before, you can see that actually there's not any content within here about expenses. So let's say I want to know how to file my expenses. I've searched for it. There's no documents, there's no context files, there's nothing. So now what we might do is, as a knowledge owner, we might actually go into Report Builder or sorry, into Search Insights. And we say, oh, do you know what? There's people asking for expenses and there's not really any results there, or that they're asking how to do their expenses and they're rating this as a bad result. So we need to put this knowledge in there. But if we don't quite have the time, the energy, the information to create the perfect document, that's where context comes in. Because context is raw and rough and not ready information for us to literally just put that in there. So now imagine if one of my team members, Liz, calls me and just say, Mike, can you just help me file my expenses? I might have a quick conversation with Liz. And within that conversation, I can just dump raw text in there. So it might be some random notes. It might be the transcript for for a Zoom call, literally directly from your Zoom. It might actually be PDFs from your manufacturers on terms of how to use their products. But actually what I'm going to do in this scenario is I'm actually just going to paste in the transcript. So this is a transcript from a Zoom call, really rough and ready, not a structured conversation. You also can upload that file if you wanted. And then instantly what's going to happen is Waybook will process that document and it will say that this is a transcript of a conversation between Mike and Liz discussing the expense claim process at the company. Cool. So if I can click on that, I can actually look at this note, look at this file, and okay, cool. That's quite interesting. Not much in there. I can re-download it if I want. And you can also actually view any of your other files. So this is, a Word document or a PDF or a few other bits. So that's taken no time. We've basically just dumped that information into the context. Now, let's say somebody comes back, Liz comes back again, and she wants to understand where the expenses are. She might do that same search and she'll say expense. Now, interestingly, there's still not going to be any document information in the documents because remember, the documents are the confirmed structured information, but there is a context file which she can get access to that context. But where this becomes really powerful is we can then say, what is what is the expense limit? Now, I'm asking a very specific question about expenses, and Waybook was unable to find that question in the document. But if we go to context, because it's flagged there that there's context file, we can basically say, oh, sorry, I'm all over the place here. So how do I file my expenses? So we'll just do that again. So we'll go into that context file, and then essentially, if the information is in any of your context, Waybook will be able to answer the question. So according to the information provided, you keep all your receipts. The meals whilst traveling, the daily allowance is £25, different amounts for locations abroad. To submit a claim, you can check with a manager. So instantly from that conversation, I've said it once, and now it's sort of in there as useful information within the business. Now, remember, context is a temporary staging ground. It just reduces the load for you to be able to put every information in. And that's why we're keeping context separate to the information. Because by the time you now say, okay, we actually want to make that context file available for people, you can either make it available for everyone, or the final thing is you can smart convert that into a specific expense SOP. So let's say expense, let's say filing expenses, and let's say we're going to make this a procedure. Now we can smart convert this, and Waybook AI will take that 1, 2, 3, 10 different documents, and it will actually construct it into whatever document type you've selected. So here we've said this is what claimable expenses are, non-claimable expenses, and you'll see here that I'm able to just click on the 6-dot icon, split out that step, look at how we submit claims, the timings of claims, and how we seek approvals. And then instantly, literally from a 5-minute conversation and one click, we have an SOP or a procedure on that content. And of course, with all the good stuff within Waybook, we can create a Waybook AI test, which will read the document, prioritize the most important things to test the team on, and then create multiple choice questions based on that. So we've turned a question into a 5-minute conversation, into a procedure, into training documentation in the space of just a couple of moments. So that is what context is. We're very, very excited to bring it all to you. It is available to accounts now. So if you'd like to access it, please do let us know. And without further ado, I'm going to go back to our slides here and give you a bit more of an idea of what's coming up soon. So the main things that we're working on at the moment are more to do with context and integrating that within your knowledge. We're also doing a lot more user interface optimization. So small things like being able to access your content faster, and also making making more of your screen and making things more readable. One thing within that, actually, which I will just share with you whilst we're on here, is if you're on a massive screen, and actually you find that there's too much white space around your documents, you want any of the content to be larger, don't forget that you can always just hit this expand view button, and that will actually increase the size of the document itself, and you can do that anywhere across your Waybook. So there's lots of things which will continue to come out on that. And there's also so much more that we're working on. Now, never forget that we are here to build the best in class knowledge management system for your business, which means if you have any thoughts, any feedback, any questions, please do always let us know, because we love to get involved and make sure we're building exactly the right thing for what you want. So without further ado, that brings us to the end of today's session. I'd like to thank you all so much for joining me, and also for continuing to utilize Waybook in centralizing your knowledge and growing across your team. If you've got any other thoughts or questions, now is the time. But if if no one has any other questions, I'd like to thank you all once again, and I look forward to seeing you all in our next month's session. And also, if you wanted to get in touch through any of our means, any of our teams, do let us know, because you might have noticed from the end of the session, we do love to chat. So thank you all so much. Have an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care now.